the second unit in chapter 6, that is the Keynesian theory of determination of national income. First unit explains about the calculation of national income, but this unit explains about how much national income required for a country to attain economic development. That's very important. As you know that India is a developing country, India is trying to attain maximum development. But there's a question we are facing. That question is how much national income we require for attaining economic development. It is impossible to find out. We don't know how much national income we need to get maximum growth. In this context, several economists studies this matter in detail and find their own solution. The first solution in this context introduced by a group of classical economists who lived during the period of 1776 to 1850. The classical economist said that if a country wants to get maximum growth, the solution is to what? We need a portion of or an amount of national income which equates the aggregate demand of the nation with the aggregate supply. That means if a country wants to get maximum growth, that country needs what? An equilibrium of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So how much income we require to equate aggregate demand with aggregate supply, and that income is technically known as the equilibrium national income. Once a country can attain equilibrium national income, then that country can attain economic growth. So classical economists said that if a developing country wants to get maximum growth, there must be an equilibrium of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. But it is not possible to equate these two elements in short period of time, required a long period of time, which means classical economists said that only in the long run we can equate aggregate demand with the aggregate supply. That means economic growth is not a short-run phenomenon. This was the argument introduced by the classical economist. But later, modern economist J.M. Keynes, who criticized this argument. One important argument of J.M. Keynes was long-run growth is not good for a nation. What we require, we need a short-run growth. That means we need a sudden economic growth. In this context, it is not possible to equate aggregate demand with the aggregate supply in the short run. That is why economic growth attaining or economic growth in short period of time is impossible. Modern economists use the word full employment instead of economic development. So full employment is the full utilization of available resources. Once the country attains full employment is the condition where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. And this equilibrium condition is technically known as full employment. Full employment is possible only when equating aggregate demand with aggregate supply, but Keynes argued that in the short run it is not possible to equate aggregate demand with the aggregate supply. The only possible way we can attain less than full employment condition, a condition which is just before full employment. Full employment means full growth. So now in this unit, we are going to discuss about how we can determine the equilibrium national income through Keynesian model. Here the Keynes introduced the three models to determine national income. There are two sector model, three sector model, and also four sector model. Using these three models, J.M. Keynes trying to explain how much volume of national income required for getting full employment. Along with this one, he also added one more element in this unit. How the national income is generating in a country? That's a question. First unit explained the measurement of national income, but we don't know how the income is generated. So in this unit, Keynes explained the generation of income in a country through a model known as circular flow of income. Also, he explained the equilibrium national income. Both are mentioned here. First part, circular flow of income, which express how the national income is generating. Second part, determination of equilibrium national income, which explain how we can determine the required national income for getting full employment. These two are discussed in this unit. Okay, this unit is very important. Some problem-based questions, graph-based questions, mathematical application questions are here. You need that much conscious is required for learn this unit. Okay, let me start. Context. First of all, Keynesian theory. What about Keynesian theory? Circular flow of income into sector economy, basic concepts and functions, the aggregate demand function, two-sector model of national income determination, the investment multiplier, determination of equilibrium income in three-sector model, and determination of equilibrium income in four-sector model. So these are the content in this unit, very detailed area. Okay, let me start from the first session, that is Keynesian theory. What is Keynesian theory? As I told you that Keynesian theory is actually a criticism of classical theory. Classical believed that full employment is possible by equating aggregate demand with the aggregate supply. But Keynes says that full employment is not possible in the short run. Second argument of classical analysis was all the classical theory based on long run theory. Keynes criticized that long run we are all dead. So he believed only short run theory. which means Keynes does not believe in full employment condition, but we can attain by equating aggregate demand with the aggregate supply. How? It explained. John Maynard Keynes, his ideas are published in his book The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money in the year 1936. Then what about Keynesian theory? The theory states that full employment is possible at equilibrium national income. Equilibrium national income or output is determined where aggregate demand equal to aggregate supply. This condition is known as full employment. In the short run, attaining full employment is impossible. So this is Keynesian argument. Long run, full employment will happen, but short run, full employment is not possible, which means equating aggregate demand with aggregate supply is too difficult. That's an unbalance may happen. Sometimes aggregate demand will be greater than aggregate supply, sometimes aggregate demand will be less than aggregate supply. Aggregate demand equal to aggregate supply, impossible in short run. So this is Keynes' theory. Then, circular flow of income in two-sector economy. Circular flow of income in two-sector economy. What is two-sector economy? The economy which consists of only two sectors. They are household and the second one, business sector or the firm. As far as concerned India, we have household, firm, government, foreign sector. We have four sectors are there. But here only two sectors are there. In a two-sector economy, how the income is generated? Keynes says that because of a circular flow in a circular manner, the income of the country is generated. Which means your parents get income. How? Your parents render their services in a particular production unit. After rendering the service, the production unit will give the reward for the service as income. In this way, income generated in household sector. That means in your family, income generated because of your parents rendering his services in a production unit. So income will generate only through production. Without production, there is no income. So production leads to income and income leads to production. Without income, there is no production. So there is an interdependence between these two sectors, production unit and household unit. Then how this income is generating among these two sectors? Here Keynes says that it is in the form of what? Circular flow. What is circular flow of income? The circular flow means the unending flow of production of goods and services, income and expenditure in an economy. Unending, that's very important. This flow never ends. If the flow continues to be an end, what happens? The income flow will stop. So circular flow is an unending process. It is the production of goods and services, income, expenditure. There are two flows, which are money flows and real flows. So circular flow income explain the two flow. One is the money flow and second one is the real flow. What is money flow? Money flow means flow of factor payments and expenditure on goods and services. Suppose if you are a labor, if you render your services in a factory, you will get a wage, and that wage is the factor payment. But that wage you are used for what? Purchasing goods and services from the market. That is your expenditure. Suppose if you get 1000 rupees as wage, that is the factor payment, and you spend 1000 rupees for purchasing goods and services, that is your expenditure. Which means your income is equal to expenditure. Your income is 1000, expenditure is also 1000. So the flow which shows this income, it is the money flow. Second one, real flow. What are real flow? It is the flow of factor services and the flow of goods and services. This flow does not consist of any kind of income, only service. You are rendering your services in firm, that is factor service as a labor. And the factory or the firm uses your services, produce goods. And that goods are flowed from firm to household. So these flows are real flow. This flow does not consist any kind of income. Only service of factor service and flow of goods and services. These are the two flows, money flows and real flows. Then how the circular flow is happening in the two-sector economy? The two-sector economy consists of household and business sector, that's the firm. Household sector to provide all factor services such as land, labor, capital to the business sector. Business sector, it produces goods and services and supplying it to the household sector. So the role of household sector is to what? Provide service to the factory and earn reward. And that's the role of business sector. Business sector produces the output which are required by the household. For example, the household need 100 units of bar soap. Business sector provide 100 units of bar soap. And the business sector produces 100 units of bar soap and supply it to the household. This is the role of the business sector. What the household sector do? For producing this 100 units of bar soap, they render their services, labor services. After rendering the service, they receive the reward for the service also, as in the form of wage, interest, rent, etc. This is the role of the household sector. Okay? Then this model will work based on certain assumption. Assumption number one. The economy consists only two sectors. If one more sector added here, this model does not work. So the economy consists only what? Two sectors. Which are the household and the business sector. That is the firm. Assumption number one. Assumption number two. No government intervention. In this model, the role of government is nil, because it is a laissez-faire economy. Government has no role here, because government will not impose any kind of tax, because government is not available here. Only household and business are the firms. It is a closed economy. The two-sector model doesn't have any economic transaction with the other country. And no overproduction. No overproduction means, as I told you, that the household need 100 units of bar soap. This 100 units of bar soap should be produced by the firm. No overproduction, no underproduction. Because there is no export, no import. That is why the business sector produces the required amount of output of the household. So that is why here output of the business sector is equal to income. The business sector produces 100,000 rupees value of output, then income will be 1000. And 1000 rupees will be expenditure by the household. So output, income, expenditure are the same. All the goods produced by the firm should be demanded by the household. All the goods produced by the firm should be demanded by the household. There is no overproduction. The firm produces 100 units of bar soap. The 100 unit of bar soap should be demanded by the household. So we can conclude that aggregate supply is equal to aggregate demand. It is full employment. Which means India can attain full employment. How? All the goods which are produced by the India should be demanded by the Indian people or abroad. If Indian government last year produces 1,000 crore worth rupees output, 1,000 crore, the people of India demanded the 1,000 crore worth rupees of output in the last year, then there is a full employment. But it is not possible. People never spend their all income to purchase goods and services. That's the problem we are facing. Whatever goods we are produced, that much quantity of income we can generate. For example, the government of India produces 1,000 crore rupees of value output, which means there is 1,000 crore value of income also generated. But the expenditure is not equal to what? Income. Output and income are same, but expenditure is not same. Because of this reason, full employment is not possible. Okay, that's the problem we are facing now in India. As per the theory, if total value of output is 1,000 and which is equal to income, both are same. Output is equal to income. But expenditure is less than income. It will be 700. Which means output equal to income but not equal to expenditure. So what happened? This equilibrium is not possible. Impossible. People never spend all his income to purchase goods and services. And which leads to what? Which leads to overproduction. Overproduction. Which means aggregate supply is there, but aggregate demand is less. Aggregate supply is greater than aggregate demand leads to overproduction. Then full employment is impossible. That is the argument given by Keynes. These are the assumptions of the theory. Then how the flow will work, I can show with the help of the chart. This flow chart shows the circular flow of income into sector model. Okay, don't learn by heart this chart, but you just know how this flow are coming from household and firm. See, the first flow coming from household to firm, this flow. First flow. The first flow coming from household to firm in the form of what? You can read there. In the form of land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, services. Factor services known as factor services. And this is a real flow. No income, only services. After utilizing the services, firm produces 100 unit of X. Total value is equal to 1,000 rupees. And this 1,000 rupees move from second floor, coming from firm to household. You can see that. Firm to household. Flow. In the form of what? Factor income. That is wage, rent, interest, profit. So now initially income generated here in firm. This 1,000 rupees moving from. So out of 1,000 rupees, 300 wages, 100 rent, 400 interest, 200 profit. Okay, and this amount moved from firm to household, and now this 1,000 rupees reached here. in the form of wage, rent, interest and profits. So now the income flow from firm to household. The second flow, this is the money flow. Consider income. Then what happened? Here the 100x are there. Income flow from firm to household, but here 100 unit of x left. What the firm will do? The third flow coming from firm, like from that is the third flow. You can see that. Third flow coming from firm to household. Third flow. What's the third flow? It is the flow of goods and services, this 100x. From firm to household, this 100x will reach here. All income reached here, 100x reached here. Then what the household will do? Household will use this 1000 rupees for purchasing this 100x. After purchasing this 100x by household, this 1000 rupees move from household to firm, like this. Move from household to firm. And this 1000 rupees reached here. And this is the money flow. And this is the real flow also, goods and services. Now this 1000 rupees vanished from here and reached in firm. So the household received 100x, which means their total income Y is equal to expenditure. And they received 100 unit of X. And the firm received what? This 100x vanished from firm and received again 1000 rupees. How much amount they earned or created here, that amount returned back. Again by using this 1000 rupees, what the firm will do? Purchase land, labor, capital, organization. Again production start, again 100x will produce and this 100x move from firm to household and the firm household purchase this 100x again and the amount again move back from household to firm. And this process continues. You can see that this money flow, firm to household and household to firm, this flow. Okay, and this flow will continue. And this is the circular flow of income in two-sector model. Now our production, 100x produced by the firm, that 100x is received by the household with their income, and the income move from household to firm. And this flow is an unending process. Because of this unending process, income is generating. Okay, this is the flow chart. Don't learn by heart, you know which are the real flow and which are the money flow. Because it's an objective examination. Move to the next. Conclusion. That's the conclusion. The model states that monitor received of the producer, that is here 1000 rupees, which is equal to income of the household, that is 1000 rupees, which is equal to expenditure of the household, that is 1000 rupees. What do you mean by that? Total demand is equal to total supply. 100 units supplied by the firm and 100 units demanded by the household. Okay, and this is the conclusion. So this is the circular flow of income in two-sector model. That means whatever income generated in firm is flowed from firm to household as income, and income again made as what? Expenditure of the household. So the total supply is always equal to total demand, which means in two-sector economy there is always full employment, no overproduction. Whatever commodity produced by the firm in two-sector economy should be demanded by the household. No overproduction, no underproduction. Aggregate demand is always equal to aggregate supply, which means full employment can be seen only in two-sector model. Then further explanation about two-sector model, the aggregate demand function in two-sector model. Then in two-sector model, how the model can attain equilibrium and how much income we require. For getting aggregate demand, equation of aggregate demand, aggregate supply, how much income we needed. That we are expressing with the help of this analysis. That's the aggregate demand function in two-sector model. What is aggregate demand function? Because Keynesian analysis states that in short period of time, we are not possible to change the supply. So this is full employment. Aggregate supply is equal to aggregate demand. If aggregate supply 100, aggregate demand 100, full employment. So how much income we require for equating this one? Why? That is the equilibrium income. This income we are going to determine. But this income is required only by equating aggregate demand with aggregate supply. But if aggregate supply, normally short period of time constant, Keynes argued that why developing countries are facing unemployment or a less developed situation where aggregate supply is there which is less than aggregate demand, greater than aggregate demand. So this is disequilibrium. Aggregate supply greater than aggregate demand. Okay, there are two ways in which we can equate aggregate demand with aggregate supply. Either by reducing the supply or by increasing aggregate demand. But Keynes says that reduction in supply in the short period is not possible. Supply constant. The only possible way we can increase aggregate demand. So Keynesian analysis all are demand analysis theory. Demand analysis. How we can change the demand, not the supply. How we can change the demand? Supply constant, not possible to change. Only possible to change is to what? Demand. So if we can equate aggregate supply with aggregate demand only by increasing aggregate demand. That is why this session deals with what? Aggregate demand function, not aggregate supply function. Because aggregate supply is constant. Not possible to change the supply in the short period of time. Then aggregate demand function in two-sector model. As I told you that equilibrium national income is or full employment is achieved when aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. What is aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure? It is the total demand for goods and services produced in a country at the prevailing market price. Aggregate demand is the total demand. Which means you produced 100 units of X, charged 10 rupees. Then 100 consumers are coming to the market and purchasing 100 X, paying 10 rupees each, then it is aggregate demand for the total demand. Then what is aggregate supply? It is the total supply of goods and services produced within an economy at a given overall price in a given period. Which means the total value of goods produced by a country. Last year India produced 100 crore rupees value output. Then aggregate supply is equal to 100 crore rupees. That is aggregate supply. If these two concepts are equal with each other, that is full employment or maximum growth. The components of aggregate demand. Okay, aggregate is total demand. Aggregate demand or aggregate expenditure consists of two components. First component is consumption expenditure. The total goods produced by a country in a two-sector model is demanded by two persons or two groups. One group is the household, known as consumption. Second group is the firm. So the firm's demand is always investment demand. They need investment, not the goods. And that demand is known as investment expenditure. So aggregate demand comprises of two components, C and I. So we can make an equation for that one. What is that? Aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. You can see that there is a bar above it. That value shows that I is constant. Not possible to change I suddenly or short period. In short period, I is constant. Therefore, AD is equal to C. Aggregate demand is equal to what? Consumption expenditure. According to Keynes, if a country wants to rise aggregate demand, the only possible way is to what? Increase consumption. Consumption increases, aggregate demand also increases. Because I is constant. Not possible to change I in short period. Only possible to change what? Consumption. That means your consumption increases, aggregate demand increases. The Keynes analysis says that aggregate supply greater than aggregate demand. The only possible way to increase aggregate demand. Then aggregate demand increases, which may equate with aggregate supply, then full employment is possible. Aggregate demand can be increased only by increasing consumption. Consumption increases, aggregate demand increases, then full employment is possible. So if India wants to get full employment, according to Keynes, we must increase our consumption. Okay, whatever income you received from the market, completely used for consumption. Even a single rupee you don't kept for savings. All income should be used for consumption. Then only India become a developed country. But people are not ready to spend all their income. People are anxious about their future. So they keep a certain portion of their income as saving. If you keep a portion of income as saving, that saving does not create any demand. Then consumption fall. So what happens when consumption fall? If you save more, consumption will fall. As consumption fall, aggregate demand fall. Aggregate demand fall, full employment is not possible. So the theory states that development is possible only through rising consumption expenditure. But people are not willing to do or not willing to create more consumption with their income. So this is the situation we are facing in India. People are not ready to consume all goods. They keep